or entering a majestic Gothic cathedral. All of these experiences have as their effect in our lives a type of time out of time moment. We stop and ask ourselves, what is happening to me? Why do I feel this way? What's going on inside? How is it that this has come upon me so unawares? For Augustine, and for most of the thinkers we're going to be looking at in this series, a primary experience of beauty is the only place we can begin, because it is this primary experience that grounds any of our reflections. And so I shall begin with an experience and reflection on my own experience of beauty that took place many years ago. And I invite you to consider for a moment if you can recall a time in your life when some experience of beauty stopped you and basically transformed you. When I was a university student, I was a French major. As part of my course of studies, I was given the opportunity of studying in Paris, and I did. I spent the year in Paris, and one Sunday a friend of mine and I decided that we would take the train to the Cathedral of Chartres in France for the Sunday liturgy. Now, I had studied about this cathedral, I had taken courses on Gothic architecture, I felt I was ready. As we walked from the train station to the cathedral, the bells began to toll out in the clear November morning. As we got closer, we saw the primitive flying buttresses that are the earliest buttresses of any Gothic cathedral. We saw the imposing statues on the facade of the building, the statue of Christ the King over the door. As we walked in, surrounded by the darkness within the cathedral, we were temporarily blinded and disoriented by the absence of light. But suddenly, as if from out of nowhere, the organ began to play. And the tunes picked us up and brought us in as the candle light moved closer and closer into our consciousness. I was able to see and perceive the numbers of statues surrounding me, the labyrinth on the stone floor beneath, the stained glass windows, the smiling Virgin. All of these things now came into view. I smelled the incense, I heard the singing, and I saw it with greater and greater clarity. Suddenly, I was taken up, far outside of my small life, because this was a particular experience of a particular college student in a particular city, in a particular church, on a particular day, in a particular year. And yet, in all of its particularity, that small, tiny event in my life was actually a very great event in my life, because it brought together years of study, years of preparation, things I had been thinking about, educational experiences I had had, all of my hopes, all of my dreams for the experience of studying abroad. And at that moment, I was surrounded by salvation history, told in bits of red and blue glass. And as we know, scientists today have not yet been able to crack the medieval code to determine precisely how those architects, how those builders in the 11th century and 12th centuries were able to construct those stained glass windows and to produce those tints of color that we marvel at today. My experience carried a transcendent dimension, and these experiences of beauty, such that any of us can name and recount, overpower us, take us into greater reality, into a greater and deeper dimension of anything we ever thought possible. Because of these experiences, these singular, sometimes called peak experiences, we are ourselves transformed, and we see things, we see ourselves in ways we had never seen ourselves before. In some ways, experiencing beauty, as we are going to discuss in this lecture series, is like an experience of falling in love. Nothing changes, but everything's different, because now we see the world anew. Beauty has that power over us, doesn't it? In the words of John O'Donohue, we live between awakening and surrender. Between them,